Now let's take a look at the second principle, letter O, which is open-closed principle. And the Wikipedia page for open-closed principle states that software entities, classes, modules, functions should be open for extension but closed for modification. It's really hard to understand, right? So what does it actually mean? So in other words, it means if you have a class with some methods and you want to add a similar method, it's better to have it added somewhere else with a new functionality like a new class, instead of modifying the same class and potentially causing bugs. Let me show you one example. So imagine you have a website with reports, and reports can be downloaded in three formats: PDF, CSV, and XLS. And imagine the class for that, which is a service class in my case, but it could be any class, has this function: download report. Report is, for example, set of data, and format could be anything. It could be by default HTML or something else. And then you have this if list. And this is violation of open-closed principle, and let me show you how to solve that. But before we talk about the how, let's talk about the why, or in fact what happens if you leave it this way. So imagine there's a fourth coming up, fourth format, for example JSON. Then if you need to add JSON, you need to add another if statement or if else or switch case, JSON. So you need to modify that service, and you need to create another function download as JSON, and also make sure that this function returns the same thing as other ones. So there is a function download as. I didn't actually implement them, but let's imagine they should return the downloaded file. So then you need to do private function download as JSON here, something like that. And then when there's the fifth format, the sixth format, some changes maybe, every time you need to modify the same class. So this is quite hard to maintain, and also there's quite a big possibility of error if there is some kind of a function for some kind of a format which works in a bit different way than others, because there are no rules. It's just a private function which can return whatever, which can have whatever in their body, and it's not really strict enough. What if we try to build the application in a way that whenever a new format comes up, we just need to create the class for that format, which would be strictly for the rules of downloading, and that's it. So we don't modify this service, we just create a new class. And to do that, instead of if, I've created that piece of code. Not sure if you've seen that already, so let's comment this out. So we don't need those if. Instead of that, let's close the sidebar as well. You have this. You have the class name, which is dynamic. Format defines the class, and then you just create the object of that class and you call the function download. That's it. So whenever you need a new format, you just create a class of report download, for example JSON service. And here's how it looks. Report download CSV service, for example, has only one method download, and whenever you need a new format, you just do file save as report download JSON service, for example. So it would be a new service, JSON service, and you implement JSON here. And that's it. So that's what it means, open and closed. So closed for modification, but open for extension. So in here we extended the same report downloaded actually interface, and I will get to that in a minute, but we didn't modify the original class of report download service. There are multiple ways how you can resolve the class. It could be this, it could be array of like class for each of the string of format. It could be something else, but this is probably the most simple way I could offer. Now, the interface. Why we need the interface? If any of those service doesn't comply to the rules of being download, for example, have a function download, I don't know, download PDF, like rename some method, and then from the main service you would call that method download, which wouldn't exist, then you would have an error. That's why we need the interfaces, which is basically the rule. So report download service interface, all it does is specify the rules that every new format class, CSV service, JSON service, or whatever, needs to have a method download. You can be even more strict and have it return something like, for example, I don't know, stream something, stream download, or whatever, stream response I think it is called. So it would be even more strict. So you can define even what to return, what are the parameters, and then all of those classes in the future should have those rules obeyed. So here's just one example of open-closed principle.